You know Mayor Dan. I got together, and I've known him for a long, long time, and I got together and I said, let's make a deal, okay? And what we had was an agreement already that we were going to do phase one of a Main Street extension through the ACF project. And I said, how about if we do phase one and phase two right away? And how about the fact that right now you have access to $7 million in road board funds, but you have a requirement, a job requirement that that you have to create a certain number of high-paying jobs at the streets of St. Charles. How about if we go ahead and relieve you of that obligation, given the fact that when we did that, you and everybody wanted to have an office building, and that office building would create those jobs. And of course, you know what's happened to the market for office buildings.
Right.
So we're going to relieve them of that obligation. We're going to finish the Main Street. In return, they're going to give us City Hall, under the understanding that we're going to spend probably around $18 million redoing the entire building, including the outer surface, which needs to be replaced. It was built in 1976. Not much has been done to it. Needs a lot of work.
It'll still be a gold glass building.
Possibly. We'll look at that. We'll look at that. I personally would rather see a new face given to it, similar to the other buildings around here. But that's something we'll have to look at.
Why is this a good deal for the county, St. Charles County?
Have you been to the courthouse lately?
I have.
It's pretty busy if you're there the right time. And you know, I would love to think that people are going to change, and we're not going to have as much crime in the future, and we're not going to need prosecutors and judges as much as we do now. But I'm afraid that's not going to happen. We're going to continue to grow, and even if the crime rates don't grow, the number of crimes committed will continue to grow. We'll need more room in our jail, which we're dealing with right now. We'll need more courtrooms and more judges to hear the cases, to get people moving out of the jails instead of sitting there waiting for a trial. It's you know, nobody wants to grow government. We're not growing government. We're growing the facilities that government has traditionally used to enforce the laws of the state of Missouri and our local laws.
So this would be courthouse facilities? That's what you would use it for?
This would be.
And then what would you use the courthouse for?
Facility.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what we're looking at right now, and this is all subject to change, and of course, we need to get our council to approve it, and Mayor Dan needs to get his council to approve it before it could go forward. But what we're looking at right now is taking the courthouse, which now has a lot of office space, including the entire 6th floor for the prosecutor. If we move the prosecutor's offices off that 6th floor, we could put 2 or 3 more courtrooms right there, and then move those offices across the street. Now, you say, why don't we just build a new courthouse across the street? Well, if we have the courthouses in 2 different buildings, then we need 2 sets of security guards, you know, to let people in and out and check and make sure they're not armed. So we could avoid that expense by having all the courtrooms in the existing courthouse and all the offices supporting that building across the street.
How much would it cost if you had to do it another way, if you had to build a new structure or something else? If you weren't doing it this way, how much would you be looking at?
More. I don't even know how much more. We asked our buildings department director exactly that question, because see, we own the property directly north of the courthouse. And the reason we own that is it was bought 20, 30 years ago with the idea that someday the courthouse might need to be expanded. So, you know, that we were kind of in a situation here. We had 2 different choices. If we went north, we could build a brand new building, but to build a building with the same number of square feet and everything would actually cost more than this deal is going to cost. So we think this is a savings for the county taxpayer.
So basically, you're just renovating that old St. Louis City Hall.
Exactly.
St. Charles, I'm sorry, St. Charles City Hall.
St. Charles City Hall, which I remember, it's 1976. I
Right.
was out of school. I was was working for the city during the summer at the swimming pool, and I remember when they moved into the new city hall.
But residents are used to seeing that gold building. You're thinking about changing that? The people like that gold building.
It's not like it's the Golden Dome at Notre Dame, Elliot. I mean,
But it's like
I'll tell you what, we'll have some hearings and we'll see if people feel that strongly about it.
it's like St. Charles landmark,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like a St. Charles landmark, and they're probably used to seeing
If
that.
we could keep that dome and save money, I think we certainly would.
But do you see what I'm saying? I mean,
I just don't agree.
yeah,
I
but
personally don't think it's.
how could you get rid of the? I mean, how many other buildings have an all gold glass exterior like that? Can you think of any?
No, I wonder why. I wonder why nobody else thinks it's so good and nobody else has copied what you think is some sort of architectural landmark.
But that makes it unique. Doesn't that make it unique, Steve? Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of other unique things too that are so ugly nobody wants to redo it again. Uniqueness is not
And it's been around for what, since '76?
1976.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it has some historic qualities.
when you're 74 years old, that doesn't seem like a long time ago.
Well, when would this take place? This deal? When would you guys close on this deal?
They're moving out. They're starting construction.
Right,
You've
absolutely.
seen that. They've got the old building torn down. They're actually building a new wall along 2nd Street right now. They're gonna start construction. It's probably gonna take a year and a half.
What does it look like to you that they've
I
rejected
think they rejected the idea of defunding the police.
Well, yeah,
Will
but
they do everything they need to do to get it back to where it was? I hope so. Certainly do anything I could to help them. I told them.
of course the state runs the St. Louis City Police Department now. It's out of the hands of the progressives who were running it before.
Yeah, but this is going to take more than just changing who's in charge. It's going to take a commitment by everybody in the city to turn this around. And I think the new administration has the ability to do that, and I know they want to do that. And I hope they can succeed.
If you were giving them advice, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them might want to just go back and look at how things were done 10 years ago. They weren't perfect, but maybe they're better than what's going on now.
I was around 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't much better. I think St. Louis was #1 in homicides, or at least in the 90s, in the 1990s.
It's different. In the 90s, in 93,
Yeah.
actually it was worse.
It was number
It was
one
number
in
one.
homicides. Yeah.
Number 2, I think, was 2020.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
In 93, there were more homicides than in 2020, but there were more people. So the actual murder rate was higher in 20 than in 93. But yeah, I was in the Senate in 73, and you remember Carnahan sent the highway patrol in.
I remember that.
Summer.
Yeah.
I talked to people. A good friend of mine was at the prosecutor's office in the cities, and they went and hired the prosecutors. The U.S. attorney helped out. They just put an emphasis on getting the bad guys off the street. And he said it took 2 or 3 years, but 2 or 3 years later, the murder rate was back to where it kind of traditionally been.
So your hope is that they will go back to focusing on the bad guys and getting them off the streets.
Gabe Gore's been doing that now for more than 2 years, right? And we've, it isn't going to happen overnight, but I think at least they're moving in the right direction.
All right. And you believe that, of course, taking over that City Hall is the right move here for St. Charles County, keeping it in government hands, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen other buildings that have been sold to private interest, and the private people simply use it as a tax write-off or something, let it deteriorate further. That happened with the old post office
Okay.
down here, and it took Randy Schilling to buy it and actually bring it back to life. we're going to make that building something everybody can be proud of. We're going to invest the money in it, and I think as county executive, I think it's a great deal for the county taxpayers. As a resident of the city of St. Charles, I think it's good for the city, because that is not going to deteriorate. It's going to continue to be a beautiful building, whether it's gold or any other color. It's going to be something that the residents of the city can be proud of as well.
You're considering, though, maybe keeping it gold. Since we've had this conversation, you're giving it a second thought.
We never take anything off the table until we've heard all the facts.
And the more you look at it, the more you actually like that idea, right, Steve?
Oh, really? We'll see.
Steve, thank you, sir.